Hi everyone, thank you for joining us for the webinar. Today we're going to be looking at preventing downstream headaches with better clash and change management. So first of all, just some quick housekeeping. So everything we're going to cover today is information presented to the best of our knowledge, but as you know, things can change, so please don't make any purchasing decisions based on features or capabilities that are not yet live. So just to run over a couple of things here. All the lines are muted just to reduce background noise. If you do have a question, please use the question box. And a link to the recorded session will be emailed to all registrants as well. So just to go over who's presenting today. So hi, I'm Joe. I'm a product manager as part of Autodesk BIM Collaborate. So I've been at Autodesk for around a year, and before that I worked in industry for around 8 years. So I started off as a structural model and draftsman, moved on to be a BIM coordinator, onto a BIM manager, and also as a BIM consultant. I'll just hand over to our other speaker just to run over her background area.
Hi, my name is Iria Carreira, and I have been now in Autodesk, I think it's going to be close to 3 years. Same as Joe, I spent around 10 years in industry. I started my career in Copenhagen in Denmark, doing some complex modeling for architectural firms. And then the 7 years before I joined Autodesk, I spent it in London working for main contractors and basically being a BIM manager on site for particularly office buildings in London. And yeah, now for the last 3 years, I work as a product manager for Autodesk, focusing on the BIM Collaborate side. Thank you.
Thank you. So what I just want to start off with today is a quick poll. So what we're capturing is what improvements would you like to make in 2022? So the options we should have are capture change as it happens, organize and communicate clashes, increase coordination involvement from other teams, and less time managing data and files. So I'll just give everybody 30 seconds to kind of answer that for us, and then we'll get started with the rest of the webinar. I can see the numbers going up. Please, yeah, answer this poll for us and let us know what you're thinking. Perfect, thank you. Thanks for those coming in. It looks like most people are wanting to increase coordination involvement from other teams. So hopefully this will help with that. So on with the kind of main event now, with the rest of the webinar. So with an increasing population, there's continually more demand for housing, infrastructure and services. AC professionals are at the centre of this, designing and constructing the built environment, and there's a lot to build. So as the population grows, construction projects need to be able to grow with it. 13,000 buildings are required each day between now and 2050 to be able to support an expected population of 7 billion. Public sector spending in 2021 is projected to finish 8.5% higher than it was in 2020, and nearly a third of firms are putting longer completion times on bids due to the challenges surrounding lack of workers. New ways of working are providing efficiency gains. Design build projects are completed 102% faster than traditional projects. 82% of firms using BIM report a positive return on investment through reduced time and errors, and digitization could save up to 1.2 trillion in design and construction within 10 years. But we know that change is never easy, be that changing a way of working, following new processes, or figuring out a new standard. Wherever you are in your digital journey, be that digitizing for the first time, turning those analog processes into digital ones, or you might be at the next step of connecting it and integrating all of that great digital information. Maybe you're even analyzing that data and using it to optimize your processes and workflows. We recognize that wherever you are in that journey, you need the right tools for the job. You need them to be adaptable, accounting for changing conditions and increasing that connection between teams and products. You need them to be easy to use, allowing all members of the project team, no matter what their level of expertise, to access and use all the data available to them. You also need these tools to be as automated as possible, making your life easier and taking away some of those time-consuming repetitive tasks.
And we have here, but it's worth the effort. So Joe and I, as you hear in our presentation, we do come from industry, and we know that depending on the journey that your company is not an easy task to fundamentally jump from an analog workflow into a digital workflow, or from digitalization into getting more optimized workflows. So from Autodesk, what we are trying to do is to help you with those efforts and outcomes, and trying to automate more of the processes, make your setups more easy so you can save time and promote better collaboration. And we are aware that from BIM team's point of view, generally is the part of the company that drives and pushes through that innovation. And through all those good processes that are getting more digitalized and more optimized, we have some of the outcomes that we can see in this slide. Particularly important, reducing the errors of on-site and having all that design and coordination phases in a way that is more collaborative and that communication is better. And at the end of the day, what we all want is to end up having better projects and better buildings. Next slide, please. So I will not go and read through these customer quotes, right? But what we have been trying to do from Autodesk is to start to move those more desktop manual products that we have seen and that we probably started in Autodesk more than 10 years ago with products like Navisworks into a more cloud-based and automated design coordination processes. And that's what we have been doing with model coordination, taking all those good bits from Navisworks and put it into the cloud in a time that we know that is critical for our customers, since we all are working in this digital way, right? And we are all in different locations. And we understand that now that collaboration through the cloud, it's critical. And that collaboration, we not only are promoting that, obviously, in the coordination processes, as probably most of you are aware, our Autodesk Construction Cloud focus in various parts of that journey, starting from design into what I will call more pre-construction, construction, and operation. And for that, we have various models inside the Autodesk Construction Cloud that can help you with that. But ultimately, what is useful is the connectivity of all of them and the capability of sharing that data and having connected workflows, let's say, for example, through issues in various of those modules. And now focusing a bit more into what it is Autodesk BIM Collaborate. From our side, we focus in particularly two products. Design collaboration, for the ones that you are not familiar, design collaboration focus on sharing information in a controlled manner in various teams. Then we have model coordination, that is focusing aggregation of models for design coordination processes, and it automates that part of the class detection. And of course, in both products, you can also have a communication tool through issue management, and you have that base of collaboration through the cloud with docs. And also in the last year, we developed change analysis, which helps inside design collaboration to focus on what is changing in the project. So all these products, as we say, try to focus in the design and coordination phases. So now we are going to go through new releases and then into the demos. So regarding the new releases, again, I will not read the entire slide, but you can see that there is a pattern in various products, we have been focusing on various file formats. We are aware that IFC is the industry standard, and then we are also aware that some of our users, they still rely a lot in Navisworks, so NWC, model coordination, and equally in change analysis, we started to support more and more of the file formats that design collaboration supports. So here we have the WG and IFC. In design collaboration, as I mentioned, we have been focusing more on understanding design changes. So here is an overview of what you will get in the demo. I think the demo will definitely be more useful and self-explanatory, but as you can see in the last 6 to 12 months, we have been working in workflows that connect desktop applications to the cloud, and equally developing more automated workflows and easier setups in the cloud platform products. So I think now we can start the demo. So in this demo, I'm going to show you change analysis in design collaboration. And in the demo, we start in a desktop application, actually. So generally, as a designer, you might be working on Revit, and we now have the capability of connecting that desktop application together with docs in a really easy manner by publishing the files from the desktop into the cloud. I think it seems that it got to stop the video. Okay, I think now keeps on running. So what you will see is now the user is publishing a model in the MEP folder and is publishing that model there, and what it will open as the video goes through is design collaboration. So that's the connectivity that we are showing from desktop into the cloud. Now in design collaboration, for the ones that you're familiar with it, I am in the MEP team, but for the ones that you are not familiar with it, you will see that in the left side, we have a lot of tools to communicate, like issues, meetings, and so on. And in the top side, we have the various teams that are in the project. In this project, we set up kind of in a classic building team of architectural, structure, and MEP, mechanical, electrical, and plumbing, right? And here, the user that belongs to that MEP team services is seeing that in the last weeks, there has been sharing of information throughout. So as wants to understand how the design has evolved, the user will be able to click in the project model and start to visualize all those model shares by the other teams federated. And then once is in that screen, the user can click compare and start triggering the changes tool. In the first screen, the changes tool will allow the user to tailor what you want to look at. And then you can start to look at the different versions. For example, you will see here that it seems that from version 4 to version 5, there was no change. So you can change that version to fully understand where there has been changes, where it hasn't. You can compare the first one to the last one. And now we can see all the changes in all the models in the project. And obviously, if you're not in the design phase, well, you will expect these thousands of changes. And we are aware that this is difficult to digest. So in this case, we are only interested on changes that is regarding geometry, so shape. And because I am in the services, I'm going to filter by the structure and architectural discipline. And on top of that, we can go into the categories. So I will care at this point only in walls. And once I have done that, I can see that it has been filtered and this belongs to the structural model. So now maybe I want to understand better what it has changed in that shape. So I can see there kind of a little note information that is volumetric change, that is less volume, and I can flick between one version and another. So actually understand what it has changed in terms of shape. Obviously, I can see this in 3D, but also we are aware that sometimes it's more comfortable looking at plans or at sections or whatever view you have created. So I can also go and filter to a different view and have that accessible. Apart from that, then you can go back. Now, because I'm in the services, I really care about those structural changes, and maybe I want to have that part of one of my reports. We are aware that some of our users use Power BI, so you can export a CSV file and then have that as part of one of your reports. So that's one of the workflows that can give you a really holistic, wide view of change inside design collaboration. Another example could be you're an architect and you are about to share a package, share some information. And in that sense, you can go and look at the changes that it has been happening in the models that your team has been working on. Look if the ceilings, walls in this case have changed, and then go back and share this information as part of your packages. This is one of the workflows that we are aware that at the moment you can review that, but we can make it in the future, and we will make it in the future a bit more automated, where this information will be already pre-populated in the package. Another of the new workflows that we have added in the last 6 months, because we are aware that change is important, but again, there is lots of changes in the projects, is the concept of the watch groups. The watch groups is a group of elements that the user selects on a model that they care about. And what it will happen when they select those elements and give it a name, in this case we have foundation, is that the system will create a subscription where if something changes, it automatically will notify you once that model is uploaded into design collaboration. So here we can see that an architectural team user is looking at the mechanical, electrical, and plumbing model, and is going to select some tags. So you can go and write in the search and select some of the ductwork in the model. Classic problem, you're an architect and the MEP changed the thickness of the ductwork, so you have to drop the ceiling and look at the ceiling height. So maybe I just want to be aware every time that those ducts change in the services model. So I create that watch group with the ducts. Now you can see that the watch group have been created, and the user, the next time that consumes a model that you will see here, you will get a notification that it says that it has been changes in your watch group, so you can go and review that. Obviously, in the reviewing, this one is just that work, but you fundamentally can create various groups, and you will have the same capabilities as you have in the previous compare tool. You can flick between the different elements. You can filter those elements if you were to have something that is not so specified as this one. You can see all the information detailing what it has changed. And also you can use the different search bits that we have in the tool. You can also export a CSV file, and in this case, the CSV file will only contain the information of those watch groups. So it's also a good way to filter that. So overall, what we have seen today regarding focusing on changes in design and design collaboration is that for the last months, we have been working on being able to analyze change, not only in 3D, but in 2D, and to have a better experience regarding the filtering, to understand the changes from different teams through various workflows. We understand that sometimes we need to have a more holistic understanding from the project model or from the package or just from your work in progress model. And ultimately, we created that watch groups. That is fundamentally what is happening is every time that you upload a new model into your system, or one of the other teams uploads that model, if you have created a watch group with some 3D elements that are in that model, an automatic notification will pop up in design collaboration the next time that you enter. So that's it for change. Thank you.
Thanks. And now I'll go on to the model coordination side of things. So here we are in model coordination in the settings page. So I'm just going to quickly show everybody how to create a coordination space. So here what we can do is we give you a folder list and you select a folder that you want to create a coordination space on. And this will automatically clash all of those things within that folder and its subfolders. for you. So doing automatic clash in model coordination is as simple as creating a coordination space on a folder. So in this instance, we're creating that coordination space on an architectural teams folder. So that's why we called it that. So here we're just collecting that data and loading that, creating that coordination space for you. As you can see here, we've got two already on that project. So we've got one on the architectural coordination space that we just created, and then we've got the shared one on the shared folder. These are both kind of folders created from design collaboration. So if I now just go to the models tab in model coordination, what we do here is we show a flat list of all of your models that were contained in those folders and in that folder and its subfolders. On the right hand side there, you can see we provide a drop down to switch between the different coordination spaces and various tools on the right hand side to filter as well. But what we also have is this search bar. So what we let you do in model coordination is search for sub-content of all those models. So here we can select all of level 0, for example, between all those different models, and we can load that section of the building into the viewer. So you can see we've aggregated all of that content in one place in the viewer, and we can start reviewing that. For example, we could create sections, we could create inspection issues, but what we can also do is add models later if we want to. Maybe I forgot to add something, I can add that. Or if I want to take a model off, I can kind of untick a model too. In this case, that's perfect, that's what I want to see. What we also let you do is save this kind of collection of models as what we term a view. So this is kind of just a collection of models that you can access a little bit quicker later on. So in this case, we save that view. I can see that pop-ups come on in the top right. And if I just close out of this view in this instance. So what I want to show next is the views tab. So essentially any models that I aggregate and save a view from would appear in this tab. So I can quickly access that later. So I could select on level 0 and that'll load those models automatically for me. So let's just take a look at the clash matrix. So like I was saying, we automatically clash everything for you. And we present that in this heat map effectively of those different views, in this case from all those different Revit files. So again, we've got that similar search tool. If we use L0, that'll filter by those. I've also got that view drop down. So if I ever create a collection of models that I want to quickly check the clashes for, I can do that using that tab. And then I also have the drop down here to just let me manually pick certain models I want to investigate today. So I can do that, click apply, and it'll just show those models in the clash matrix with that heat map as well. So in this instance, maybe I do want to just manually search L0 and kind of filter those models down. So I've got that heat map of clashes. I can see there's quite a lot in kind of structural versus architectural, but maybe in this case I want to review electrical versus architectural. That's my priority today. So what I can do is I can click on that box and it'll open those two models in the viewer for me in the clashes side panel. So I can see the top drop down there is my primary model, which is electrical. So if I were to create an issue, it'd create it against that model. And I've got the clash with button. I can see in this case, I've got 64 clashes between these two models. And with our tools in the viewer, we let you kind of filter those clashes and group them in different ways. So with the recent enhancements to the group by tool, you can group by any property of a clashing object. So it really lets you kind of focus on what you specifically want to look at. Here, let's just look at, see what got all that different information, but let's pick, for example, locations here. Maybe I've got location data within my Revit file or any other supported file formats. So what I can do is I can then use that to group my clashes by different areas. So here it's grouped those into effectively different rooms like power riser and technology. But maybe in the future, I want to search for that again, I can quickly find that. So if I find a way to group these clashes that works really well for me, I can search and find that really quickly in the group by tool. Let's show another example here by type mark. Maybe on this project, I'm a designer and I use certain type marks for different elements. I can then use that to group those clashes by. So in this instance, let's just use type name. So I can see we've grouped that by type name. But I've also got this tolerance filter that lets me dynamically change what tolerance I want to use. So I could use 1 inch as an example, and I filtered out nearly half my clashes. Or I can also use millimeters. So in this case, maybe I use 25 millimeters, again, this filters, half my clashes out. So today I can focus on what's really important to me, just those 30 that are over 25 mil. So let's investigate one of those clashes. So in this case, we can see maybe an electrical box clashing with a wall. Maybe in this case, I'm not worried about that specific clash. That can be solved on site. So what I can do is I can create a non-issue from this, or create a not an issue. Here it gives it a title. I give it a reason, so it's a valid interface, and I can maybe put a comment on there saying this can be resolved on site. So I can kind of clear those clashes out. Investigate the next one. So in this case, I can see 2 light fittings clashing with 2 columns. So in this instance, I do want to kind of note that as an issue, as something that someone needs to kind of effectively go away and resolve. So what I can do is I can click on that checkbox, click create issue, and place my push pin. So this is effectively creating an issue against this clash group. So this pops up the side panel. So I can see here I've got different descriptions that are automatically populated. Maybe in this case I want to assign Iria as a watcher to this issue so she can keep an eye on it. And in model coordination, what we also do is create a screenshot of that clash and those highlighted elements. So I can review that later on in any context if I want to. So there I've created an issue out of that group. What I want to do now is just show you that in the issue side panel. So I can see that issue push pin there on those models, but what happens when I click it is it takes me to that camera position when that issue was created, and also highlights those objects. So if I do want to review this clash later, I have a really quick way of doing that, getting into that context. So now back to the clashes tab. You can see we've got various tabs on in here as well. So the assigned clashes tab gives me a list of all of those clashes or issues that I created from clashes. So any new other issues that I create from clashes would also appear there. I also have the closed clashes tab. So any clashes that I know as not an issue, we do take a screenshot of that, and we also let you later on reactivate that if you want to. So maybe in the future I recognize this might be a clash and I can reactivate that. So what I want to quickly do now is jump down to Navisworks. So what we have in Navisworks is something called the Navisworks coordination add-in. And what this lets you do is load content from model coordination. So say if I've uploaded something to Docs, I've got a coordination space. What we can do in Navisworks is use that to access that content. So in this case, if I go to the project that I'm working on, which is College 2022, and I have the ability to switch between different coordination spaces as well. So I've got the architectural one and the shared one. In this case, I want to look at the shared. I also have the ability to filter that list of models. So I can do that by typing in there. But I also have the ability to load in views. So if I have got pre-saved content that I've kind of saved as a view, I can download that. So what we're doing here is we're pulling that information directly from model coordination down to Navisworks. So effectively bring that geometry and all that data associated with those parameters and properties associated with those objects. So you can see here we've loaded that content down. So what I could do in Navisworks is anything kind of typical that I would do. So I could create sections, I could create markups in here, create viewpoints, those sort of things. But in this case, let's just open the Manage Issues dialog. So effectively what we do is we visualize those issues from model coordination directly in Navisworks. As you can see here, we also kind of support that highlighting as well. So if you do click on that issue, we show the highlighting of that clash or that clash group. We also have all those different parameters and also the saved screenshot as well. So the next thing I want to do is just quickly run a clash test in Navisworks. So I've loaded this content down from model coordination. You can see here I've got test one that I've just created, and let's just click 2 sets of models to run a clash against. So this is something that I could typically do in Navisworks. I could also bring in search sets and save clash kind of tests that I've created previously. And I've also got a tolerance value there if I want to use that. So quickly running that test, I can see I've got various clash results. So I can cycle through those like I typically would in Navisworks. So seeing what some of the problems are. And then if we go back to the first one, just have an investigation of that quickly. Say in this case, it's probably not an issue, that'll probably get sorted on site. But maybe I spotted something else, so let's go to clash 13. So I've got a light here clashing with a wall. So in this instance, I would want to notify or identify that as an issue for someone to resolve as well. So what I can do directly in Navisworks is create an issue on that clash. So there, I pick the object I want to create the push pin against. We generate that issue, we give it a title, give it a kind of a coordination issue. And what we also do in Navisworks is capture a screenshot. But what I can do here is I can edit that description. Maybe I want to just add a bit of clarity around this. So we've got a clash between a light and a wall. Add that to the description, tick that as okay. And like I was saying, yeah, we have got that screenshot as well to add further clarification if someone does view that later on. I can see both those issues now. So I've got one issue created from model coordination and one issue from Navisworks. What I want to quickly show you as well is one of our new features, which is the clash grouping tool in Navisworks. So here I get to select a clash test. So in this case, test 1 that I just created, and then I can kind of choose a parameter to group it by. So in this instance, let's just pick a couple, and then I can prioritize by selection A or selection B. I can also add today's date if I want to as a kind of a label, and also like an abbreviation there as well. So that gives me a preview. In this case, it's going to only create one clash group, which in some cases might be fine. You know, it's grouped those quickly, but say I want to change that later, I can do. So we've got an option here to kind of untick keep existing groups. So if I want to change that at a later date, I can. So let's choose a different parameter, say name, click group clashes, and again, I've regrouped those clashes. So quickly kind of creating groups for those, which is really great in Navisworks. So now if I jump back to model coordination, if I click on views, in this case, I'll click on that level 0 views that I created previously. So maybe I've been reviewing things in Navisworks, I've created an issue, come back to model coordination. Maybe I do want to review a couple of the clashes in model coordination as well. In the side panel, we also have this ability to kind of turn certain kind of models off for clashing or kind of filter those clashes out. So say if I do want to prioritize architecture and electrical, I can do, but I can have those other models in there for context as well. But say let's have a look at issues. So this is the first issue, which we created in model coordination. And I can also visualize that second issue that I created in Navisworks directly in model coordination. So we've got that really great connection between those two products. And for now, I'll jump back to Revit, so the authoring application. We also have an issues adding for Revit. So if I click Manage Issues, this brings up the issues side panel. So this is actually the work in progress model from the Teams folder in Design Collaboration. But say I want to load issues from the shared models as well. So what we let you do is kind of load issues using the load issues dialog. So I can click on the shared kind of model and load issues from there, which is where I've just created those issues. So what we let you do in Revit is effectively click that issue, and we'll zoom into that camera position. We'll give you that context, and we also select that object. So you can see that interconnection between all of these different things. Same, I can visualize that Navisworks issue. I can view that screenshot that I created, and also we select that object. Again, the interconnection between Revit and Navisworks. So now a recent feature that we've released is the Go Online tool. So what I can do is I can use the View Online dialog to either open that model directly in Docs, so the location of this model that I've got open, or if I've got a coordination space, I can link out directly to the clash matrix. So this is really there to try and get modelers and designers to kind of go self-check their models in model coordination. So we automatically run clash, and then we provide these links out from the authoring application to get different kind of designers and modelers in there to just see where they have got clashes. We also provide a link out to that assigned issues tab as well, so you can go out and view those assigned clash issues. We also provide a link out to the kind of the all project issues in Docs. So if you want to view context of other issues on other models, you can do, and you can do that this way. And then when you actually select a model, we change the options slightly. So we have another feature, which is open issue. So what we can do, if it is a model coordination issue and a clash issue, if you click that, we direct you straight out to the viewer in model coordination, and we see that the context of that issue and those clashes and where it was created. So again, we've got that interconnection between all of these different products. So say in this case, I want to solve that problem. I know what I need to do. In this case, I just need to move that light fitting above. I can look at that screenshot to give me an idea. If I had two screens, I could also have model coordination open at the same time. So maybe move that one up 500 mil and do the same with that one to effectively solve that clash. Perfect. So in this case, I've solved that problem. And what I can do is I can save that, and then I can republish this file. And effectively, this goes into that process that we talked about previously. Now I've changed these two light fittings, you'd be able to see that in change analysis. But that will also then be visualized and kind of incorporated into automatic clash as well. So all a designer and a Revit user has to do is save and upload, and we do all these automatic processes in the background to update that information. Perfect. So that was the end of that demo in relation to model coordination. So just to summarize what we went through there. So we created a coordination space in model coordination for automatic clash detection. Effectively, we chose a folder of content to run clash on with as little setup as selecting it. Basically, that's all you had to do to turn on automatic clash. So this will automatically update when new or amended content is uploaded to that folder or its subfolders. So once that content is in model coordination, we let you aggregate and review those models, coordinating multiple disciplines at once. With automatic clash detection, we also provide easy and intuitive tools to focus on what matters most to you. With the clash with filter, we let you filter certain models out for clashing during that session, maybe just using their models for context. With the improvements to the group by tool, we also let you group clashes by any property of a clashing object. So that really lets you focus on which objects matter to you as well. And finally, with the clash tolerance filter, we let you dynamically set a tolerance for that session, allowing you to pinpoint which clashes are a priority. Issues and non-issues can then be created from these clashes. Issues can also be created in Navisworks using our connected issues ecosystem, with these issues then being visible in the authoring software, where model authors can solve these problems and republish, again kicking off all those automatic workflows. So if you are using disconnected forms of legacy collaboration, your information might not be in the same place. You might have lots of different products and systems that are disconnected, and this might cause a lot of confusion in your project teams. So where do they access information? Is that information up to date? There are these questions surrounding that. Using the Autodesk Construction Cloud, we provide one central source of information, giving you and your project teams confidence that they are accessing the most up-to-date information and then they have all the data they need at their fingertips, be that changes, clashes, or issues. Centralizing project data is key to improve productivity and record keeping. By collating information systematically, our customers know that accurate and helpful data is available to those responsible for maintaining and expanding the facilities over the decades to come. The Autodesk Construction Cloud offers a robust ecosystem for teams to integrate their software and streamline their workflows. Autodesk Construction Cloud has over 175 native integrations to other innovative construction applications, enabled by our partner cards and APIs, including Autodesk Forge. What's more, the platform gives you access to 100 more custom workflows through Autodesk Construction Cloud. So before going into some questions, I just want to pull up the next poll, which is just just wanting to hear if you do want to hear more about Autodesk BIM Collaborate. So if you are interested about hearing more, please let us know in the poll, and we can get back to you. So I'll just give everybody kind of a minute or so to just let us know. So we have got some answers coming in. Please let us know in the poll. Just give that a little bit longer.
Joe, as we allow that to run a little bit, you want to kick off some questions here? Start getting answering some of these.
Yeah, definitely. We've got a good time for questions now, haven't we?
Okay, let's see here. We have a question here about clashes once they're resolved. So once a clash is resolved and then saved to the shared model, does that issue that was generated automatically disappear from the list of clashes?
So if you know a clash is not an issue, that does it disappears from the clash list and the clash matrix, and effectively it goes into that closed clashes tab that I demonstrated in the demo. So it kind of comes off all of the the reporting mechanisms. So you won't see it in the clash matrix, you won't see it in the clash panel, but it is there in the closed clashes tab if you ever do want to reopen it or if you want to review that later. Hopefully that answers the question.
Great. Yeah, and if any follow-ups to these, you can go ahead and retype them into the question box, and we'll see if we can get back to them. So another question here. So this is about, you showcased Navisworks and model coordination in BIM Collaborate. Can you explain sort of maybe the situations in which you would use one versus the other, the clash detective in Navisworks versus the clashing in model coordination?
Yeah, so in model coordination, we can only automatically clash certain files. The reason behind that is the need stable object IDs between versions so we can track them. So some file types you can't clash automatically. So potentially users might want to clash those in Navisworks. So you've still got that connection between the two, so you can create an issue and visually see that in model coordination. So there are some file types you might want to clash in Navisworks. We also understand that some customers might really like Navisworks. That's kind of something that they've used for years and they're really familiar with it. In which case, you can clash other things or everything if you want to directly in Navisworks, but still have that connection to that connected issues ecosystem. So you can still create those issues in Navisworks from those clash tests that you want to create there. You can still visualize those in Revit as well. So there are different kind of situations where you might want to use it. But what we're really trying to do is provide that connection between all of these different applications through kind of issues and also model coordination as well.
Great. And a question here for Iria. So can you give some best practices on how to incorporate the change tool that you presented into like an approval process from an engineer, architect, or project manager?
So as funny enough, I saw that question, and I think it has many answers depending on the phase of the project that you are at, depending on the contract, right? But I think most of the time regarding approval processes, what is important is what change you're expecting and what change is unexpected, right? So we are aware that through the design phases, the change is gonna happen as part of design development. And in that sense, the best approach is communication through the package workflow in design collaboration. That example that I was giving where before I'm going to share a package to say this has changed and changed after reviewing it. And also when I am going to consume that package, I can review that with change. And then for the unexpected change, that I think that's the high risk bit, where some of your designers have changed something that you didn't expect, and then that will generate maybe a clash down the line or might impact other aspects of the buildability of the project, is where I see our users creating those watch groups, right? So for more risk profile elements in the process. Design collaboration in the last 6 months, they have implemented issues. So you can now have very similar workflows to clashes, where if you find something that is not working in the design or something not expected, you can create an issue in design collaboration and start kind of an approval process. But I'm afraid that the question, it needed a bit more context for me, as depending if I am in design, in pre-construction, and we have already procured, those design approval processes change that drastically, right?
Great. There's several questions here, and it's about different software types, whether or not we can integrate with them or use different file types in model coordination. And I feel like we should just expand this out and answer the question, what types of files are used in the various components that you presented today, whether that's clash detection, model coordination, change analysis. And I'd like to hear from both of you on that one, if you could.
Sure,
So
yeah. Go on, Maria. You go first.
So for change analysis, at the moment we support Revit, we support IFC that it's export some IFC from particular softwares that we don't support due to not stabilize these inversions, but from the biggest IFC exported, let's say ArchiCAD or Tekla, we support that. And then we support 3DWG as design collaboration supports some of the civil infrastructure workflows. We also support that. So that's what currently we support in changes. Probably within the next year, we will also support some of those NWC files from Navisworks.
Perfect. So from the model coordination side, we do support DWG files, Revit files. We support certain IFC files similar to what you were saying there, so they need stable object IDs. So ArchiCAD, Tekla, and kind of other exports as well. We can probably provide a bit of a follow-up on those precisely. But we do also support NWC files exported from Revit and AutoCAD too. And we also support certain files for aggregation. So we allow the aggregation of all IFC types, but we won't automatically clash all IFC types just because we need those stable object IDs. Similar with NWC files, we do automatically clash some of those, but others we can't, and we only enable those for aggregation. We also support something called VUE files for aggregation as well. So one of the pieces we're working on for Navisworks is be able to get those kind of non-clashing files down to Navisworks to clash there as well. So that's something we are currently working on to improve that connection.
Awesome, great. We got a couple of questions in here, a lot of common threads, and one of them I'm seeing is how do we engage in model coordination, clash detection, or issue management more on the design, in the design phase. So whether that's in Revit or in your work in progress models, what are some activities we can do to ensure better models or designs essentially using something like model coordination or change analysis?
Yeah, so from the model coordination side, if you are using design collaboration and you have work in progress folders or files in Teams folders, and you also have the shared folder, what we would suggest is you could create a coordination space on the Teams folder, and that'll let that team to kind of get in there and self-review their models, create issues on those and resolve those before even sharing. And then you can also create a coordination space on the shared folder. So you can see there we've got kind of two levels. The first level is a coordination space on the Teams folder, doing automatic clash, letting those teams self-check their models and resolve things before even sharing them. And then in the shared folder, that is when you can maybe interact more with those other teams and solve those problems at a higher level. So there are ways. So like I was saying in the video in the demo, like if you are kind of using model coordination and design collaboration, it's as easy as just switching on clash for that folder, that content that you've included. We automatically clash everything, and then we let you get in there and self check. So you can note things as not an issue, like we demonstrated, or create issues from them. So that is really helping to democratize clash. And then we have the Revit issues add-in. So if you are a Revit user, we then provide that link, those links back out into that process. You can view those issues directly in Revit, but you can also link back out to model coordination quickly and quickly find it, look at the clash matrix, or look at the assigned issues tab. So really that's helping designers get in there to solve those problems before they're even, you don't even need to create an issue if you don't want to. You can get in there, solve that clash before it is even kind of escalated that far.
Great. And Iri, anything you want to add to that, or do you think that kind of summarized it?
I think it kind of summarized it. Sorry,
Okay,
I was
great.
replying to another question in the chat in the meantime, and I got entertained. Apologies.
Yeah, no, it's great. We have a lot of questions in here, so I think we are all set to stay on this call for the till to the end of this hour. So keep them coming in. This is great. A lot of engagement here. One of the very first questions we got here is how does some of these things that you've presented relate to things like lean methodologies?
So from my side, I think particularly from changes and regarding lean methodology, it's just that you can be more transparent and more specific about what is happening in your design. And I think that's fundamental to them measure task and understand what is coming ahead. And I think one of the problems, particularly, I think in pre-construction, design is more control or tends to be more control, but one of the main issues in the design phases and applying lean is that there is so many things changing in the design and so many variations that it can be really difficult to then specifically task what is expected or what is going to happen. And I think through changes, you just give a bit more transparency on that sense. On top of that, I think the fact that model coordination or change analysis inside design collaboration have automatic workflows where actually it's not like back in the day that you have to download the files, put it on your desktop application, click into a button and kind of then discover something. Now we are moving into workflows that fundamentally it will just notify you. It's just helping our users to go through all the tasks that I think are more relevant to them and invest in what really they should be investing as humans with experience, right? So I think from our side is to give more transparency and try to automate as much as we can.
Great. Question about issues here. So we saw how to resolve an issue and what happens when that issue is resolved. Is there sort of an intermediary step where we can reassign that to someone else to take a look and review it in some other product?
Definitely, yes. So what you can do is there's various statuses on issues. So for example, I think something along the lines of in review, you could change it to that, and then for example you could have someone going into model coordination and noting that as closed once we know that clash is resolved. So there is kind of intermediate steps to be able to kind of provide that workflow effectively, or that check when something is resolved and then noting it as closed. So we do have that connection. So you could do that wherever you wanted. You could do that in Navisworks if you really wanted to. So we know that some BIM managers really like Navisworks, and that's where what they've been using for a while. So if they still want to use that experience, they can, and they could check those models there. Or if that is happening in model coordination, maybe that's a bit easier because it's web-based. More people can maybe access it. It can happen there too. We also show issues in docs and various other places. So there are lots of different kind of products that support viewing issues and on that different model geometry.
Great. Another question about issues here. So what are the differences between issues in design collaboration and model coordination? And then I'm going to expand that out to say, what's the difference between issues in ACC and BIM 360 platforms?
So between kind of ACC and BIM 360, they're a similar experience. ACC just has that added benefit of we've got build as well, and issues transfer into build. So you've got a bigger connected ecosystem compared to kind of maybe BIM 360. In relation to DC and MC, those are connected. So whatever platform you're using, issues between model coordination and design collaboration and Revit and Navisworks, they're all connected in that same ecosystem.
Great.
Yes.
Is there oh, go ahead, Iria.
Yeah, so in that sense, issues is one of those clear examples of a cross-platform, right? So if you create an issue in design collaboration, then you can see it listed in docs. You can review it there too. So it's one of those paths of communication that, regardless, while you are switching between software, you will have it there, which I think is quite powerful depending what you're reviewing. We are aware that some of our users will be more, let's say, in docs or the more in design collaboration, but you will still have that across. And then, as Joe was saying, you will have that desktop and cloud chains. So if you're more comfortable reviewing in Revit, you can look that into Revit while you're in application, or then you can switch into model coordination.
Yeah. In I guess the Autodesk Construction Cloud, that's all connected. You don't have to have different point solutions for issues and saving documents somewhere else. They're all in the same place. So hopefully it makes everybody in the project team's life a little bit easier. They don't have to go to different products to see different places to see those issues and models. They're all connected.
Great. Had a question in here about docs and how this is all connected with docs. Can you maybe explain a little bit more about how the platform works in the file management component?
Yeah, so for example, in relation to design collaboration and model coordination, they're both built on top of docs. So for example, we know lots of customers really like docs and that experience. They use that to organize their files. Design collaboration and model coordination are built on top of that. So we're not effectively, design collaboration and model coordination are a new kind of workflow in relation to docs. They're kind of built on top of it and work really well. So like I was showing when creating a coordination space, you click a folder that's in docs and we automatically clash that content. It's as simple as that. I don't know if everyone wants to talk about design collaboration a little bit, but that from the model coordination side.
Yeah, so as rightly Joe said, they are built on top, right? So what we do in general in the Autodesk Construction Cloud is we have docs as where the data goes, repository, and then from the various products we fundamentally do some tasks with it. In terms of design collaboration, as I said, the main purpose of design collaboration is having that share of information in a controlled manner. We know that some of our users, they do that in a really high trust environment. So they will have Revit with Revit Cloud work sharing, and the files will be in docs, and equally they will be in design collaboration, and they will do some really collaboratively live linking through there. And others, they will have projects that they are more restricted where permissions are more control, and then they will do those share and consume workflows. And fundamentally, when you're in design collaboration and you are using those share and consume workflows and seeing that information in the timeline, what is happening in docs is every time that you click share this package, is that model then in docs is moved into a share folder, and every time that I click consume, that model is also copy and paste kind of in a consume folder. So that allows to some of our users to do then those live linking workflows. So yeah, fundamentally docs is the base for all of our products in terms of the cloud. Great.
We are at time, everyone. There are so many good questions in here that I actually wish we had gotten to some of them. But thank you so much for those questions. And we are going to follow this webinar up with an email, so be on the lookout for that. It'll have additional resources in there, as well as the recording of this webinar. So thank you all for attending today. This has been great. Thank you, Joe and Iria, for presenting, and hopefully you all can join our next webinar when it comes out.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.